Right, here we are again. I'm not going to be too loud because Elisa's home and I think she's trying to sleep. So if you can't hear me, I'm so sorry. But there's nothing I can really do. So, where did we leave off? I've already forgotten. Sharp is home with his wife, or his missus, I believe, and he's about to set off to this fortress that he has been tasked with taking over. But no, he's been tasked with rescuing someone in captivity. Anyway, let's get going. Major Vincent was waiting outside the hotel next morning. He was a tall, rangy man, mounted on a powerful black stallion. He's called Satan, Vincent told Sharp happily. Bred in County Meath, he flies over hedgerows and can outgallop any French nag. Let's hope he doesn't have to. Sharp hauled himself onto his saddle, then offered Vincent a half loaf of bread that had been hollowed out and stuffed with bacon. Breakfast if you want it. What a good fellow you are. Bread and bacon? With butter, Sharp said. And that's the last of our bacon. From now on it's salt pork. Shall we go? The sooner the better. Vincent was wearing a dark blue double-breasted coat of the Royal Artillery, though Sharp suspected the Major had been nowhere near a cannon in the last few years. The Duke tells me you're a rogue, Vincent said cheerfully as they started their southwards journey. Aye, probably. Tell me about yourself. Not much to tell. Oh, come on, Sharp, don't be modest. You took an eagle to Talavera, yes? Me and a sergeant, yeah? And doubtless you'll claim it was all good luck? No, it was a bloody hard fight, but I was angry. A bastard called Henry Simerson had lost our king's colour a few weeks earlier, so I wanted to square accounts. Yes, I've met Sir Henry. He's useless. Worse than useless. He's malevolent. Malevolent. Yeah, I said that right first time and then fuck myself. He works for the excise now, a taxman. And God help England. You're the one who'll help England, Sharp, by capturing the citadel in Ham. Which you've seen, sir? I have indeed, not 3 weeks ago. Sharp looked across the lean officer. You were deep in France? I heard that all exploring officers weren't allowed across the frontier. Nor were we, because officially we weren't at war with France, but only with the Emperor. So we're ordered not to provoke him, but some orders are made to be disobeyed. The Duke tells me you're very good at that too. He sounded amused. And if you've been captured? Death, I suppose. But that would never happen with this horse beneath me. Some of their lancers gave me a run, but Satan saw them off, didn't you, boy? He patted the stallion's neck. The Major looked as if he might be a year or two older than Sharp, who thought he was 38. Like many children raised in the poorhouses, he'd never been entirely sure of his age, nor did he know his birthday. But the estimate was close enough that he had long decided that his birthday would be August 1st, because it was an easy date to remember. Major Vincent, Sharp thought, would have no such problems. His horse was obviously expensive and his uniform was elegantly cut, and he affected a cavalryman's pelisse edged with fur. I have no idea what that means. I could have read it wrong entirely, but anyhow. Am I in frame? God, I hope I am. I didn't check, I normally check, but the camera's pointed right at me. Hi. Where was I? Ah, yes, I was to this page. Sharp half smiled. When did you last fire a cannon, Major? Vincent understood the question's real meaning and smiled. Thank the good Lord I've never got close to one, Sharp. Nasty things, cannon. They make far too much noise. Vincent was one of Wellington's exploring officers, and that had made sense. Sharp had worked with them before and knew them to be subtle and clever men whose job was to determine the enemy's dispositions and plans. They rode good horses far behind enemy lines and always wore uniforms, so that if they were captured, they could claim they were not spies. So what can you tell me about Ham? Sharp asked. It's a nice little town on the River Somme, Sharp, with a citadel to bend a river in a bend of the river. And the citadel is a bloody great stone fortress. Big corner towers, high walls. You've seen the Tower of London? Many times. Think of the White Tower, only twice the size. Jesus, Sharp said. And it's well garrisoned? Oh, indeed. But usually garrison troops aren't the best fighting men. They might have been reinforced, sir, Sharp suggested. Reinforced? Men fleeing the battles there. I suppose a few might have reached there, yes. But most of the French will be retreating to the east of Ham, and the Prussians will be on their heels. The Duke suggested the Prussians might reach Ham first, sir. God, I hope not. The prisoners will be scattered across half of France if they do. No, Sharp. We get there first. We release them, and we take our fellow back to the Duke. Our fellow, sir? Rather an important man. Pity he was captured. Here is he. No need for you to know until you meet him. Sharp bridled at the curt response, but did not argue. The garrison will have learned about the battle soon enough, he said. So why wouldn't they just take the prisoners south, out of our way? Don't even think about that, Vincent said. They should do that, but will the garrison's commandant be astute enough to act without orders? My guess is that if we're in a hurry, we'll get there in time. The Duke should have sent cavalry, Sharp grumbled. Can you imagine cavalry capturing a fortress? The poor darlings wouldn't know how to begin. And you think I do? The Duke has faith in you, Sharp, Vincent said sternly. Will your fellows be ready to march? I like Vincent. He's a lot easier to read than everybody else. They better be, Sharp growled, and the Prince of Wales's own volunteers were indeed ready, drawn up in ranks on the road that led along the ridge, where the battle had been fought. The fires of the valley still smoked, the stench of burning flesh carrying up the road. The wounded were still in their encampment, tended by the bandsmen, all but the 6 drummers who would march with the battalion. What about the women, sir? Harry Price accosted Sharp. What about them, Harry? Can they come? Of course not, Vincent put in briskly. Sharp leaned down. Listen, Harry, if we're going to be marching fast, really fast, the women will have to keep up. If they don't, we abandon them. Let them know. Of course, sir. Is that wise, Sharp? Vincent asked. Sharp turned to him. You want these men to fight hard, and they're not. And they're not going to be happy if their wives are left with the rest of the army. Happy men fight a damn sight better with a battalion of miserable buggers. Sorry, happy men fight a damn sight better than a battalion of miserable buggers. Besides, the wives will make up their own minds. Some will come, some will stay with the wounded, and some will decide their children can't stand the pace. Children too? Vincent sounded alarmed. They happen when you put men and women together, Sharp said, then spurred his horse to the centre of the battalion's line. Harper rode with him. Battalion, the Irishman bellowed. Tension! Stand easy, Sharp called. Now listen, you rogues. The Duke has given us a special task, and he did that because we're special. He reckons we're one of the best battalions, so we're marching into France and we're going on our own. He let the ideas settle, hearing the murmurs in the ranks. Quiet, he called. We're going on our own and we're also going fast. If you can't keep up, you'll be left behind, but the Duke trusts you march hard and we will not let him down. It wasn't much of a speech, but Sharp had wanted to warn them. Sharp had wanted to warn them that they faced a hard slog. Right, Pat, lead them off. Where to? Harper asked, amused. Centre of the ridge, then turn right and reverse the company order. The battalion had lined up facing north, so Grenadier Company was on Sharp's left, the direction they would march. They were a good company, but the light company, on his right, would set a quicker pace and Sharp intended to march fast. The Grenadiers wouldn't like it, reckoning they should always lead the battalion, but a light company marching pace would leave them too tired to grumble. Drummers, Sharp bellowed, I want to hear you. He rode to the head of the column, accompanied by Harper and Vincent. They marched along the ridge, past the corpses of the French horses that had charged so gallantly and been cut down ruthlessly by canister fire from the cannons and by the relentless volley fire from the British squares. A little further on, Sharp passed the spot where his rifle bullet had struck the Prince of Orange's shoulder, and he felt a pulse of pleasure from the memory, along with a wish that bullet had struck a hand's breadth lower, meaning the heart. Then they were set at the crossroads where the farm track joined the main road, and Sharp turned right, leading the battalion past the walled farmyard of La Haye Sainte, where the King's German Legion had fought and died. I've lost my place now. Dead horses lined the road, and there were still dead men who had not yet been collected for burial or burning. Among them were too many green-jacketed riflemen. God, he said to Harper, this was a bloody slaughter. Worst I've been in, the Irishman said. Badajoz was worse. Aye, that was a proper fight too. You were at Badajoz? No idea what that is. Vincent asked, then looked at the wreath of oak leaves sewn into Sharp's sleeves. Is that? He began, then stopped. That's Badajoz. Sharp had seen the Major's glance. We were both there. The oak wreath marked a man who had survived the Farnham Hope, the suicidal group that went first into an enemy breach. Sharp and Harper had climbed the St. Marie breach, clawing their way up blood-soaked stones into the fire of the defenders, while behind them the deep ditch had been filled with the dead. There were nights where he still woke in a sweat, dreaming of that fight, wondering how he and Harper survived. And to this day he did not know by what miracle they had lived, let alone won. And I hope, he continued to Vincent, that we never have to fight again. Amen to that, Harper said. The damned frogs haven't surrendered yet, Colonel, Vincent said. They're well beaten, though. Maybe, Vincent sounded dubious. Marshal Grouchy led his corps south. It's spelt corpse, but it's pronounced corps. I don't know if you know that. And Devout has had at least 100,000 men in and around Paris, and the Emperor didn't give up easy. He'll fight to the end. Then we'll just have to beat him again, Sharp said. They had reached the floor of the valley where there were fewer corpses, though the foul smell of the fire still soured the air. A woman with a baby strapped to her back was busy pulling teeth from the French corpses. She grunted as her pliers dragged another free, then grinned at Sharp. Need new teeth? She pushed the extracted tooth into her bag and went back to work. Teeth? Vincent asked with a shudder. Oh. She'll get good money for them, Sharp said. They make the best false teeth. We collected a sackful after Salamence, Harper said cheerfully. Sold them too. Sharp nodded a greeting to a dozen artillerymen who were guarding a group of captured French cannon, then climbed the slope towards the ridge where Napoleon had arrayed his army, and where the French attacks had started, only to die under the flail of British musketry. There was a tavern at the top of the slope, and not far away a rickety tower made of a slender tree trunks lashed together to support a platform reached by a ladder. Bonnie spent much of the battle up that contraption, Vincent said, watching us through his glass. And where were you? Sharp asked. I spent most of the day out there, Vincent waved eastwards, looking for the Prussians. Sharp spurred his horse towards the head of the column. He noticed 2 or 3 soldiers wearing new bright red coats, meaning... Oh, my back needs to crack. They had come with the new draft. Private B was one of them, and Sharp beckoned the lad. Can you ride a horse, B? Never ridden one, sir. Time you learnt then, Pat B. Sharp gave the boy the horse's reins. He's an easy horse, just don't kick him too hard, and try to stay close to me. I'm glad B is a main character. I like the guy. I hope he sticks around long. He helped him into the saddle. How old are you, B? 17, sir. The boy sounded uncertain, and to Sharp's eyes appeared a little more than a boy, no taller than his musket, which looked too heavy for him to carry. Where are you from, B? I was born in Belem, sir, but live in Shoreditch now. I'm from that part of the world, Sharp said. And why did you join up? Magistrate, sir. Sharp laughed. Me too. What did you do? Pickpocket, sir. B sounded ashamed. You're a clouter, Sharp said, using the Londoner's word for a pickpocket. Not a very good one, sir. Then be a good soldier, B, Sharp said, then strode to the front of the column. He would set the pace and it would be a fast one. They were south of the battlefield now, though the fields on either side of the road were littered with muskets and knapsacks that had been discarded by French soldiers fleeing the carnage. Harry Price caught up to Sharp and fell into step. Showing the men you can march like them, sir? Price asked, amused. Exactly, Harry. So what are we doing, sir? Following the Duke's orders, Harry. Which are what, sir? Not very much, Harry. Get first into France, capture a fortress, release some prisoners, then rejoin the army. Price marched a few paces in silence. I knew you wouldn't tell me. You shouldn't have asked, Harry. Oh, And once we rejoin the army, I want you to detail half a dozen men to accompany the Vicomtese? I don't know what that means. Lucille was the Vicomtese of Selaglise, a title she rarely used, which never ceased to astonish Sharp. Reliable men. Reliable men. That I can do, sir, but capturing a fortress? The dawn was obscured by clouds by the time the battalion reached the crossroads called Quatre-Bras. In a light rain was falling. Sharp turned towards the crossroads, leading the battalion through yet more unburied corpses of men and horses killed in the battle two days before, the bigger conflict of Mont Saint-Jean. The corpses were mostly naked, having been stripped by villagers. He looked left to where the French heavy cavalry had hammered 3 battalions of good infantry that the Prince of Orange had insisted stay in line despite Sharp's warnings that enemy horsemen were lurking in the fields of rye. They stopped beyond the battlefield to rest for a few minutes and to let the men fill their canteens from a small stream. Major Vincent unfolded a map and ineffectually tried to protect it from the rain with his pelisse. I don't know what that means. Good start, Sharp, he said happily. On to Mons, eh? How far's that, sir? Vincent traced the route with his finger. Oh, about 30 miles. We'll not make it today, Sharp said. Then we'd best press on. They marched through the fortress town of Mons next morning, assailed by folks wanting news of the battle. Sharp purchased bread and a salt pork in the town and ignored the ale that his men had bought. They deserved it after their hard marching. They had marched with them, setting a brisk pace. He had marched with them, setting a brisk pace. That afternoon, they crossed into France. The road, which was gravel over stone, suddenly deteriorated. Bonnie ordered it ploughed up, Vincent explained. He didn't want to make it easy for an invasion. Any invasion of France must follow the main roads, and while infantry and cavalry could move easily through the fields on either side, the big guns and the supply wagons must stay on the road, which was now a churned mess. They passed through villages where solemn folk watched them. Sharp had spoken to the battalion the night before, warning them that the Duke had ordered that there was to be no pillaging. The bloody frogs aren't going to like us. But we don't want them angry enough to fight us. If we want bread or beer, we pay for it. And not with the buttons either. In Spain, the British soldiers had learned to detach their uniform buttons and hammer them flat, then persuade villagers that they were genuine coinage. I'm not a flogger, Sharp had told his men. But if you mistreat French civilians, I'll beat the shit out of you myself. Or I will, Harper put in. They marched on. Sharp had decided to start early each morning, before dawn, and march through the morning and early afternoon. Then stop long before sundown to give the men time to make shelters. The rain followed them, but never fell hard. Major Vincent had a hoard of French currency which Sharp used to buy bread, wine, eggs and meat. A half-dozen men, their feet blistered or bleeding, had to drop out the marching column, and Sharp left them behind with a scribbled note that listed the men's names and testified they were not deserters. Vincent countersigned it. Wait for the army, Sharp told them. Vincent reckoned they must be at least 20 miles ahead of the rest of the army, which would be slowed by the heavy guns and baggage wagons. That afternoon, they passed Conde, a fortress town. A blue uniformed men watched them from the walls, but made no effort to oppose them. Valenciennes next, Vincent said, a much bigger garrison. The rain had stopped, and a weak sun lit the flat countryside, and Sharp kept the column moving. We'll stop close to Valenciennes, he told Vincent. You think there'll be trouble there? Garrison troops gone soft, Vincent said scornfully. They'll leave us alone, and if they've a scrap of sense. How many in the garrison? Lord knows, Vincent said airily. Maybe 1,000. They skirted Valenciennes again watched by the troops in the town's ramparts. Sharp wanted to stop, but not so close to the enemy fortress, so they marched on, following the field tracks to the west of the town. Then the enemy opened fire. 2 cannons shot from the bulwark, and the balls searing across the damp fields to throw out sprays of earth and water some 50 paces to the right of the column. Cold barrels, Sharp said. Cold? Vincent asked. Cannons fire bothered the hot barrels. What? Cannons fire bother with hot barrels, Sharp said, so the next shots would be closer. The next shot screamed overhead, missing the light company's shakos by less than a yard. Sharp hurried the pace. "Sir?" Private B said nervously. "What does it be?" "Horsemen, sir, behind us." B, with the added height of being on Sharp's horse, could see further. Sharp turned and saw 3 blue uniformed horsemen following them. The cannons hammered again. They sounded bellowing across the damp fields, but the artillerymen on the wall had overcompensated, and shots again fell short and were stopped by the soggy ground. The horsemen stayed well back. Sharp thought of leaving riflemen behind to ambush the followers, but decided it was best not to provoke an enemy that could outnumber them. He finally stopped some 5 miles south of Valenciennes in a wood that had given them timber for shelters and fires. 3 horsemen left at dusk. "Spurring back to the town. I don't like it," Sharp said, peeling over hard-boiled egg. "What?" Vincent asked. Maybe I should have shot those 3. Some ambitious bastards back in town might be reckoning we're easy meat." "They'll have heard of Bonnie's defeat," the major said, "and won't want trouble." "And they'll have counted us as we went past," Sharp insisted, "and they'll know we're on our way. Oh, sorry, and they'll know we're on our own. Harry?" Price ran to Sharp's side. "Sir?" "Pickets, Harry, strong ones, watching the road back to town." At nightfall, Sharp walked to the picket line that was strung between the road and the river Schelt that ran west. The small rain had stopped, and the sky was ragged with clearing clouds. "You really think they'll come, sir?" Price asked him. "I've no idea, Harry. But we're a tempting target. One badly understrength battalion all on its own. I'd attack us." "They must know the war's lost." "Must they? Major Vincent assures me Devout has over 100,000 men around Paris, and Marshal Grouchy escaped Waterloo with a whole army corps. And we're all alone in France," Price said dourly. "Don't worry, Harry. You've got me." Sharp clapped him on the shoulder. "And if they do come, Harry, you'll command the skirmishers." "Of course, sir." "The lad knows what to do," Sharp reassured Price, who was new to the light company. "Your job is to pull them back before the enemy skirmishers overwhelm them. Best job in the army, Harry, commanding a light company. You'll love it." Sharp went back to his boutique, I hope I said that right, where Harper was making tea. "How's Mr. Price?" "Nervous, but he'll do. He's a natural light company officer. Irresponsible, daring and quick thinking." Harper broke a double-baked biscuit in 2 and handed 1 piece to Sharp. "You think they'll attack us?" "For the glory of France, it's possible, but get some sleep." "They won't come, Sharp," Vincent broke in. "Their job is to defend the town, not sally out for a fight." "We're too tempting a target," Sharp said, "and all it needs is one ambitious bastard who wants an easy victory. They'll come." 5 guineas says you're wrong. The garrison will be tucked up in their beds by now." 5 guineas? Sharp agreed. Oh, sorry, he said it like 5 guineas. Sharp agreed, drank his tea, and went to bed himself. And that's when there is a break in the text. So we will stop there for today. That was 12 pages. First video, 20 minutes long. I read 10 bloody pages. But I can read now. I couldn't read, I was just a bit slow. But I believe you're out in the clubs right now. I'm being lit up by a screenshot I took while playing my samurai game. Just because the home screen of the PlayStation is not that bright, as you can clearly see. But I'll get this video uploading. I'm not going to edit it or anything, so I'm just going to put it straight onto YouTube. But yeah, I'm not sure when it'll be up. For me, it'll go up around maybe 11:30, so that'll be about 1:30 for you. I know you've probably not watched any of these videos, but hey, here we are. I love you. Hope you're having a good time, gorgeous.